Nothing's inconsistent with this being a lawful use of force by the officers.
Yeah, explain that a bit more.
This guy looks super Jewish.
Many people still wondering
Not
if
this
the,
guy,
the
but
shooting was
the
legally
guy got shot.
justified, and given what you've been able to review up until now, what is your opinion?
Well, the legal question is, did the officers who shot Alex Pretti have a reasonable, not necessarily correct, but a reasonable perception that he was presenting as an imminent, unlawful, deadly force threat? And that's presumed to be the case. A prosecutor would have to disprove that proposition beyond any reasonable doubt. So it's a very high burden to overcome that justification. And what evidence did these officers have? Well, the moment Alex Pretti interfered with the arrest of the woman in the white coat, gets shoved by a CBP officer.
Okay.
He makes contact with that officer. The moment he makes contact with that,
so you made contact, you pushed him off. And by the way, they're actually not supposed to be there. This is like a designated area for. This is an area that the ICE office agent. So if any, they follow the ICE agents over here, and apparently this guy wasn't even an office agent. It was a border patrol, so it wasn't even an ICE agent. First of all, they need to get that straight. It's a border patrol, totally different sections.
the moment he makes
So he pushes her off
contact with that
because you were getting contact them close, and then you went in there.
officer, he's just committed a federal
and bear spray that bitch.
felony, good for 8 years in a federal penitentiary. That's why they were seeking to make his arrest, because they
And why is he fucking dragging her? See, like you tell, he was always dragging her.
saw him commit a forcible felony against a fellow officer. Then he's non-compliant with arrest. He's fighting them.
Yeah, he's resisting.
Then they discover he has a gun on his person. They take that gun. There's cries of gun, gun, gun. The officers call to each other.
Yeah, and I think this is the part where it was kind of like a miscommunication. Like, I think it's like, I get it, like, in terms of like, well, he had a gun, right? So that's obviously like, shit, he has a gun. But I think the officers should have been like, hey, I have the gun. Because I've heard that the guy grabbed the gun too. So the communication wasn't there, right? Now, at the end of the day, it's that, like, whose fault is it really, right? I think it can go both ways, and it should definitely be settled in court, because this is kind of one of those things where it's like, shit. Because I can see the mistake that the Border Patrol did, where it was like, they took the gun, but they didn't say they had the gun, right? But you can also say it's, what's his name, Alex, whatever, this guy's fault too, because he shouldn't have been there in the first place. And if you want to go even further, whose fault is it really? It's the state governor who keeps radicalizing these people and saying, hey, you should stop these agents because you're going to be the next Luffy of One Piece, so go in there and fucking stop them. That's not how it works. Like, so you keep going further, but overall, I can see this being a two-way thing, so I'm not going to actually say my true opinion until I see the body cam footage. I want to see the body cam footage to get a little more information, but I can see both sides from it.
He's still non-compliant. They hear a gunshot go off, and Alex Pretty's right hand comes from his waistline with a black object in his hand.
Okay.
That combination of facts is going to get you shot 999 times out of 1,000 by law enforcement, and justifiably so.
Yeah, and again, like, some people will say, like, well, maybe they shouldn't just have guns. Why wouldn't they have guns? Because what? Like, they're law enforcement. They need a gun. Unfortunately, that's how it is.
They're making all these perceptions, all these decisions in a violent, chaotic melee caused by Alex Pretti. They have to make all these decisions.
Yeah. And you got to imagine this too. Like, if you're a law enforcer, imagine all these yelling people at you, pushing you, all up in your face all day, just yelling at you. You're getting a bunch of adrenaline as the officer. You have to really think about these situations. You have a gun, and people are making your life a living hell, right? And you're telling me you want these officers not to have weapons or just comply? No, you're law enforcement. There's a reason why you're law enforcement, right? And again, if you're bothering a law enforcer, you're interrupting and interfering with their, with their job. I'm even surprised they're even getting away with that. Like, because if I were to just get up on a face, I'm an officer. I would have even fucking arrested in a heartbeat. Like, what are we doing here, right?
In a split second, because that's how quick someone can use a weapon against you.
It's pretty crazy.
And those decisions, again, they don't have to be correct. The law of self-defense does not require.
Now, I do think this should still be settled in court eventually, too. I think so, too. And it should be settled in court. But like I said, with this whole thing, like, let's say that example, right? When Alex was pushed down, right? The best thing we've done was just stop. stop what you're doing, because if you go any further, well, obviously what happens, you get shot, right? But if he would have stopped there, he wouldn't be able to take that to court, and he would have been having a better case.
Us to make perfect decisions. It
But I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. This is just my opinion, right?
requires us to make reasoned decisions, meaning
Yeah.
you're applying your powers of reason to the fact.
Exactly, and they probably felt there. Obviously, it seemed like they were very. They felt like they were in danger because Alex had a gun, and that's another thing. Why the fuck do you have a gun when you're at a peaceful protest? Which I get. You also because to have the Second Amendment right, but if you have a gun, people are gonna assume things.
It's presented to you. You're not making things up. You're not speculating someone could have a weapon. Now, probably the item in his hand would turn out to be
There you go.
maybe one of his spare magazines or maybe a cell phone. But it doesn't matter what it actually was. It matters how it would be reasonably perceived given that combination of facts. And reasonably perceiving it as a weapon is well within the realm of reason.
Yeah. So no, I can totally see both sides of this too, but so basically, let's see right here. It says the moment he makes contact with the officer, he just committed a federal felony, good for 8 years in federal penitentiary. Yep, that's one. That's why they were seeking to make his arrest, because they saw him commit a felony. There you go. Then there's the non-compliant with arrest because he was resisting. He's fighting them. And they take the gun. Cries of gun, gun, gun. The officers call to each. He's still non-compliant. They hear a gunshot go off, and the Alex's pretty right hand comes off his waistline, and a black object in his hand. The combination of facts is going to get you shot 990 times out of the 1,000 of the law enforcement. They're making all these perceptions, all these decisions in a violent, chaotic melee caused by Alex Pretti. They all have to make a decision in a split second because that's how quickly someone can use a weapon against us. Yeah, that's true. They don't have to be correct. The law of self-defense does not require us to make perfect decisions. Yeah, exactly. I agree. They're just going to leave this here. Exactly. So carrying a firearm, risky. Protesting, like, risky. Illegal. Impediment, law enforcement, risky. Duh. Yeah, listen to the biased right wing. So now people are saying he's a right wing. And like I said, let's see, and this is when it gets stupid. When you start using language like this, right wing self proclaimed white supremacists, when you say shit like that, that doesn't help your case. That makes you sound more like an idiot, right? It makes you sound retarded. It's like, here's an example with Mandani, right? When he won the mayor, people, you know why he won? It's because people kept saying shit like, oh, he's a jihadist, he's a terrorist. When you start name calling stuff, that just feels it more, and it's a better chance he's winning because you're just using name calling, right? And like I said, like, I can see both sides of like what happened here, but like, name calling is not going to get you anywhere from this. I get the story behind it, but all the decisions made, it was based on assumptions. Exactly. And again, we don't really know until we see the body cam footage, right? So I won't be like, oh, well, this is exactly what the information is. But again, like I said, I can see both sides of what could happen. But the problem is, you got to see it from both sides as an officer, but you also see it as a protester, right? So I see both sides from it. But like I said, if it was me, I'm not going to fucking go protest and interfere with law enforcement. Sorry, that's just common sense. I'm not going to go there and fucking fight an officer, dude. Like what do you take me for, right? What am I, Luffy? You know? Common sense from an expert spelling out why people can't be out here. Well, and he wasn't even doing peacefully, right? I think that's the thing. People think it's a peaceful protest, but you chose to be in that area where law enforcement's there. So what are you doing, right? And he's also what, an ICU nurse? So what are you doing there as a nurse? You know, that's even weirder. Even Trump, Miller, and some Republicans are walking these claims back. Yeah, and like I said, like, I think it's the idea is that we need the evidence first. I think we need more of the evidence before we can make a decision. And I think that's why Trump hasn't really said anything yet. Because they're, again, like I said, some people do make mistakes. Again, no one's perfect. Not every officer is perfect. But again, you shouldn't have, interfere with the officer in the first place. That's my take, right? But we'll see. I don't know the whole story. So we're just going to have to wait to see when we get all the evidence in. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Like, if they weren't really not following, but they did the best. Like, I think overall, like, it is what it is. That's just kind of like what happened, right? Let's see. How is the guy an attorney? Yeah, people are mad about it. It's a terrible tragedy. Yeah, these are a bunch of left wing people, obviously, fucking going at it. But you're right. Like, again, like I said, like, I could see it from both sides. Obviously, you know, this guy clearly has a one way of thinking of this, but like again, like I said, I can see it from this side, but I can also see it from the other side, right? But I think overall, the problem was, I think if he didn't have the gun, it would have been more better of a case, but because he had the gun, it made it worse, right? I mean, that's just my take on it. So, I don't know. We're just gonna have to see what happens.